Hey, so we always start with how's it going tonight?
We're very, very upbeat.
So we should start with something different.
Hi, Eric. Welcome to Mostly Security episode 77.
Well, hello, John.
What's new?
You have ruined me.
I have ruined you? Oh.
You introduced me to a game for the iPad, which Civilization. It's an old game. It's been around forever, but
yeah, I
tried playing it, and then now it's like crack. I can't stop playing it. It's like one more turn, one more hit.
No, it's. So, I like that game because it is not one of the free to play games that are kind of all about pulling the slot machine, random stuff.
Right.
And it's great to play multiplayer, either hot seat or network with my kids. So
I have not done that yet. I need to get over the learning curve because I'm still losing badly.
Right.
It'll give me something to do for a few hours on the plane on Sunday. I will be heading out of town, but I'll be back next Wednesday. So
you will be back in town. All right. No split time zoning it?
No.
All right.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what's new with you?
I
saw another B tweet.
I did. Well, so two things, I guess. The first of which is that I was so excited to go into the boxes on Sunday because I was like, oh, I put supers on. They're going to be making honey for me. And there was not a single drop of nectar in the boxes on top of the hives. So they're I don't know. They're clearly bringing in tons and tons of resources. So I assume that it will only be a matter of time before they run out of room and have to, put it upstairs.
Have to move upstairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm patiently waiting until Sunday when I can go in again. Because I feel like every time I go in, I disturb them and I kind of set them back, and I don't really want to set them back, but I'm curious.
It's like opening the oven too soon.
Right,
cake.
Exactly. Whatever. And then the second thing I guess I'll say about them, at least, is that just tonight when I was out there, and maybe that's the tweet that you saw, but I have been watching the blackberry flowers, and I saw the first blackberry flowers. I noticed the first blackberry flowers opening today. So that means the next couple weeks are going to be stupid, crazy nectar flow. So I'll keep my fingers and toes crossed.
Me too.
Yeah.
As a consumer of the honey.
a partial bystander.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weather's been beautiful here, seemingly. We had a bunch of rain on Saturday, I guess, last Saturday, but otherwise it's been hot. What is this, Arizona? I don't know. It's crazy.
I know, it's like 80 degrees. Got the air conditioner cranked up.
It's brutal. That's why I stay down in my basement. It's really nice down in the basement. Yeah. So
yes.
Anyway, I guess the other thing I'm doing is I'm frantically trying to set up some outdoor lights for a graduation party we're going to have next weekend here. And then I'm trying to make the slideshow for my son's 8th grade graduation, which will be tomorrow. So after we hang up tonight, I'm going to keep working on that. Nothing like procrastination. It wasn't really procrastination. It was that there were a lot of photos to go through. So anyway, it's all good. One thing at a time. It's fun.
Well, for follow-up, I have found the site that we can just refer people to on a weekly basis.
Okay. What would that be on a weekly basis?
DaysSinceLastFacebookScandal.com. So
Hold on. I have not gone to that. Oh my gosh. Is it just a one big number?
No, and then it's got the news articles referencing each of the latest scandals, so you can go back in the timeline.
Funny. Oh my gosh, look at that!
Yeah,
look at that! Oh, the internet is awesome.
It never ceases to entertain.
The internet is awesome. Okay.
So we don't need to talk about
Days,
Facebook because
we'll just reference days since last Facebook scandal.com. Oh, that's funny. Well, I got pulled out something to throw up into follow up because we've talked about passwords and password managers just a ton, and it is you are the weakest link. But so this article I saw linked from a tweet by Coding Horror, which is Jeff Atwood, who was the co-founder of StackOverflow.com, is his main claim to fame. Well, I guess that was his old claim to fame. Now his Discourse is doing really, really well too. So he's a twofer. But anyway, so he linked this article from a consultant to congressional or political, at least, campaigns, and what to do when you've got basically an hour to teach a group of people how to up their security game. So, and it's a quite long article. So, you can go read the whole thing because there's lots of stories in there. I love some of the titles, like the well actually. What about the well actually crowd? Anyway, we're probably in the well actually crowd, but but the four things I'll pull out in kind of follow up here that they did, or that he kind of came down to, was first to find out what. So imagine you've only got an hour, and you've got, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 people that you're talking with, only an hour, and you have to leave them in a better situation than you found them, and they're not going to come back to you for advice. You don't get to come back and see later on. It's, what are you going to do? And you can't set them up and train them and get them to convert all their existing logins into a password manager in an hour. It's just not going to happen. So this his four things were find information or collect information about the devices they're using, whether they have two-factor authentication, how they share documents in the campaign, how they keep track of passwords, and so on. And I love this one. Explain that you are not a Russian spy. And then make them start all of their overdue software updates in front of you while you start part 2. I love that, because the implicit thing there is, A, there's no question that they haven't kept up to date, and right. B, the lack of trust in that if they don't start them in front of you, that it won't actually happen. So I don't know. Maybe he didn't intend those, but that's how I read that, which I just found I find it funny. The second thing, and this is really what I is for you and for us, is introduce the U2F security keys and explain how they prevent the kind of attack that ensnared John Podesta. Demonstrate how to use them, what to do if you lose them. Have everyone open their laptop and walk them through the setup. So this is the bulk of that half hour or that hour. So this is 30 minutes. Right. 30 minutes, basically, which essentially comes down to, what's the one big thing that you can do in an hour is you can set somebody up with a hardware key. Right. So that's the meat. The third one is talk about email and attachment. Sorry, I'm laughing at this too. This part is almost like sex education. You preach abstinence, but the moment you leave the room, they'll be double clicking on whatever Excel spreadsheet the DCCC forwarded them that day. So yeah. Explain high risk behaviors, low risk behaviors, and how to open stuff more safely in Google Drive. Try to push the campaign towards shared Google Docs and Signal instead of email. So that's the 20 minutes of the hour. So basically the 50 of your 60 minutes are set them up with a hardware token and give them the birds and the bees talk about email.
Right. Email. I do like that analogy.
So
everybody goes, yeah. Email attachments. Don't open attachments. Oh, wait a minute.
Exactly. So, and then he said, if additional time is available, talk about devices and password habits and stuff like that. But anyway, I thought that this was a nice, related to many of our conversations over time, and kind of a begrudging, you're right. Cause I mean, Shirley's never going to use one password. My wife is never going to use one password. Like that's just, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe eventually she'll have something on her keyring that she can plug in to her iPad and a computer and, other things.
Right.
Anyway, read the whole article. It's a good one.
So I have two topics. They should be relatively quick because one of them is we've been, as we started the show off with, having fun with Facebook and all their screw-ups. Well, the latest one, Snapchat. And now there's an article in Vice about Snapchat employees abusing that data access they have on the back end. So there's apparently a tool called SnapLion, which gives you the keys to the kingdom in Snapchat. And some of the Snapchat employees, being a very large company and employing large amounts of people at this point, were using that to do things that they shouldn't be doing, abusing that access, being able to see what people are doing, where they're at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah,
they spied on users. So Snapchat, we can just add that into
days since last Snapchat scandal, scandal.
Exactly. So and I guess the meta point to this one was, if you're going to start sharing stuff on Snapchat, and sidebar, TikTok is apparently the new one that everybody's using. I have not loaded and played that one. Played with that one yet, but that's the new one. But it just assume that platform will be abused and treat what you share on there as if it really isn't private. And that's what I try to tell my kids, that these are okay to use for just your friends, but just be careful what you're sharing because it's not going to be private, or the probability that it will be private is not an assumption you can make. And I think I recently saw a tweet from, as you mentioned, Coding Horror from Above, Jeff Atwood. He wrote an article in 2008 about, design your software assuming that some of your users will be evil. And this not only goes for end users using your software for things, but the employees who use your software internally, and how do you plan and go for that. So that was just my first article.
Cool.
All right. Then my second topic is probably really short. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one. It's the title is Companies Are on the Hook If Their Hiring Algorithms Are Biased. And this one caught my eye because recently we have talked about explainable AI. And what explainable AI and artificial intelligence is. How do you know how they arrived at the decision? And so this was just one note in here that I thought was interesting was they went to audit the algorithm of the resume screening company. And so they had built, I guess Amazon at one point was trying to build an artificial intelligence to screen resumes for them and pull them up, and they could not figure out how to make them function without bias against, without some kind of bias.
Uh-huh.
And so it's still something that companies are working on, but there was one resume screening company found that the two factors that were most indicative of high job performance, based on the AI, and they dug into it, was that if their name was Jared and whether or not they played high school lacrosse.
You are kidding me.
So if you want to have a good job and for this resume screening company,
make sure your name's Jared.
And then play high school lacrosse.
Okay.
So I just thought this was a nice link to I think something that you will start hearing a lot more about, in the security context as well, but more in general about AI is how do you explain what the AI did?
Right.
Because right now it kind of feels like a black box of
it is a
magic.
It is a black box of magic. It is a black box of magic. But okay, yeah, that's fantastic. So let's see. I also have two things. The first one is a campaign currently going on, described by Gardacore, but there's a summary by Hacker News. I don't know which link we should put in there because the Hacker News summary is pretty basic, but is easy to read. The Gardacore is quite a bit more detailed. So there's a couple things about this. So the first of which is this is a attack on SQL servers and PHP servers, or MySQL and SQL servers. And it starts with a brute force attack. So in the first place, that means that your SQL server or MySQL server are exposed to the internet, which is not a good thing.
Is it MySQL or Windows MS?
Both.
SQL?
I think.
Both of them?
Yeah, because I mean, I saw MySQL and MS-SQL, which is the Microsoft SQL referenced. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're using, well, this specifically says this tool attempts to log into each MS-SQL server using tens of thousands of common credentials. Once authentication succeeds, the server's address, username, and password are saved to a file for future use. So essentially, the first ingress is done with brute forcing using password, common passwords, weak passwords, or let's say exposed passwords on externally exposed SQL server. So that already, you've got several knocks against whoever's running this, but you've got the fact that it's exposed, you've got the fact that it's using a weak password, and you've got the fact that you're not detecting and controlling against brute force attack. So brute force attacks are easy to identify and generally relatively easy to stop too. I mean, if you fail your authentication more than 3 times, then you can't authenticate for a minute. The Apple Watch does a great job of this. I know because I've locked myself out of my Apple Watch before because I couldn't remember the password, and I got to the fact where it was 12 hours before I could try my next password attempt. And eventually I wound up having to just wipe it and install from backup because I couldn't remember. And for some reason, maybe it was an old watchOS or something like that, but it didn't prompt me to change it, or I didn't change it when I changed my phone's passcode. And because, So anyway, the second thing that this did was used SQL to run a command on the host itself. So there's some examples in the deeper article of what they were doing in order to sort of download and drop a file. And then the third thing was they tracked 20 different dropped exploits. And so these were of different types. They had both rootkits and coin miners. So, it seems that this started as a cryptocurrency mining exploit, which, SQL servers will generally be pretty beefy. Good target for crypto mining. So anyway, so this is kind of a perfect storm of issues. And I guess the other point I don't think I mentioned at the beginning is there was a quote here that said that they've already infected nearly 50,000 servers. And with the rootkit that they're installing, there's, it says they are installing a sophisticated kernel mode rootkit on compromised systems to prevent malware from being terminated. So I guess another general security principle is that if you always have to be, have a vantage point. How to phrase this? It's if you need a vantage point that's a level below wherever the malware can get to, because otherwise, if you're at the same vantage point, then you can be lied to. If all you have is user mode access and the malware or bad actor has kernel access, then when you try to look at something from user mode, the kernel can lie to you. Same thing if you have kernel access and they've got firmware access, well, they're a level below you. So anyway, that's just a general principle. So that was my first one. This was a good read and a good campaign and nice documentation here.
Cool.
Yep. My second one was I have less info about this, or as far as I can tell, there's less info. Although, honestly, I posted this in Slack a couple of days ago, and it's a big enough impact that there's probably been more articles on it, but I've been kind of offline for a bit here. But this is a Docker container escape, which we kind of talked about container escapes a couple of weeks ago. But this is a link on seclist.org, and that describes the exploit, the vulnerability, and I learned something here in reading this, because I didn't know, or at least a formal definition of TOCTOU attack, or TOCTOU. I mean, I'm aware of race conditions, and the race condition is where you're racing to try to have something take effect before something else happens. And so in this case, TOCTOU is a type of race condition, and it stands for time of check to time of use. So TOCTOU, time of check, time of use. And so
between the time that the OS is checking on something and the time it's used, that's when you're inserting. That's what this means.
That is the race. You want to make something happen after the security has been checked and before it's actually used. So in this particular case, they're creating a symbolic link, and so the actual function that they're talking about is follow symlink in scope. But remember, Docker's intent is that each container lives in its own namespace, only has access to its own quote unquote file system, although that is just a mapped drive from the host file system, and or mapped directory, and from the visibility from inside the container, you shouldn't be able to do something outside. But basically, so this says, let me see if I can read this here, because it's very precise. So the purpose of blah is to take follow symlink in scope, is to take a given path and safely resolve it as though the process was inside the container. So that's the issue here, right? You want to have a function that the the container engine, Docker engine, is enforcing that whatever you're trying to do with this symlink is something that should be allowable from your container access. Mm-hmm. So after the full path has been resolved, the resolved path is passed around a bit and then operated on later. And then his example is in the case of Docker CP, which is a copy, it's opened when creating the archive that's streamed to the client. So if an attacker can add a symlink component to the path after resolution, but before it's used, so after resolution, but before it's operated on, you could end up resolving the symlink path on the host as root. So in the case of Docker CP, this gives you read and write access to any path on the host. So that's the meat of that is, that's basically you've got some path and you're saying, hey, I want to copy something to this path, and the security check for, hey, is this a valid path, monitors the path's destination and says, oh, yep, that's fine. And then if you create a symbolic link inside that path to somewhere else before the copy actually happens, then the path that will be actually followed by copying the file is the one that goes through the symbolic link as opposed to the original checked path. And that gives you the ability to then write outside, and then there you are. So there is a sample, a repro on the link that we'll put in here. I haven't actually dug in and looked at it yet, but anyway, this was kind of interesting attack that. Kind of more theoretical attack, but I thought this was kind of cool. I kind of keep my ear to the ground for container and Lambda stuff. So
yeah, well, cool.
And at least as of the time of this article, there's no version of Docker that was not vulnerable. So I'm certain that will happen quick, and so maybe next week we can have a follow up to see what happened on this. But
everybody update your Docker.
Well, that only happens if they can if they release a fix. So
good point.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Got something fun for me tonight.
In the spirit of John, I have something.
Oh,
funs.
Well, I like fun things, so I think that's fantastic.
So my first something fun is actually a little self-indulgent. So years ago,
okay.
I backed the Kickstarter for the Raspberry Shake, which was an earthquake monitoring device that you use with a Raspberry Pi, and it's been sitting under my house on the foundation in the crawl space for years, and every once in a while I remember it's there, but it's been happily functioning forever. And there was a magnitude 8 earthquake in Peru, and I thought, I wonder if, and I think I saw a tweet by somebody else in LA saying, hey, I saw the earthquake. And so I went and looked. Sure enough,
wow,
on my Raspberry Shake, 4,500 miles away, you can definitely see the earthquake and the little bits of aftershocks throughout the whole period. So
that's the big green.
That's the big green thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll link my personal tweet, like I said, a little self-indulgent, but I think it's really cool. Up on my Raspberry Shake, you can see the earthquake. So there was that.
That is awesome.
And then
that is awesome.
My second one was a tweet from Tim Cook, the big cheese at Apple, and he tweeted about a mural that's available in the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. Called the Chronicles of San Francisco, and they took I don't know how to describe it other than you just got to go watch the video. That I don't know where the video came from, but it was in a tweet from Tim Cook about this really cool mural. And so we'll link to the tweet so you can watch the short video of the artist explaining what he did, and then you can click on the link to the actual exhibition and what it is. But it is stories of and faces of people who moved to San Francisco. And with your iPhone, you can go in there and find a face and tap on their face, and it'll tell their story. And it's just all tons of different people, all walks of life, all types of experiences. I thought it was really cool. And it's an interactive, and I think it's in the entryway, the free part of the museum, that anybody with an iPhone can download the app, go you can even do it on the website. You don't even have to be at the museum, and just show the app, point the app at the photo, and then tap on a face, and that person will now start to tell their story of them in San Francisco. So I thought it was really cool. Digital and physical art.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you got to watch the video. If you haven't seen the video, it probably won't make a lot of sense, but anyways.
All right, I'll
those are my
check
two funs.
Two fun things. Both seem particularly fun. All right, that's cool. I chose something that is, and now for something completely different. Sorry, man. I didn't like throw anything fun in here, so I was thinking, I had a couple things that I was like, that's kind of fun, but
this is an oldie but goodie, though.
This is old, and the reason why this came up was because in one of my errands that I was doing this past weekend, I was with my father out at some stores pretty early. Just trying to get stuff done before the rest of the family kind of started moving. But we wound up going by a Rockler store, which is like a woodworking store, which is I wouldn't say a hobby of mine. I don't make anything that requires nice even cuts. I do everything that's like 2x4s and a 3-inch nail gun. But so I guess that's considered carpentry, not joinery. I don't know. Anyway, but I have lusted, and I'll use that word deliberately, I guess, after this particular table saw for a very long time. And someday I will buy one, but I don't have one yet, and I don't know. But anyway, while I was in the woodworking store, my father was like, "Well, what's with that?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is what I'm going to get." But I was at the super big one, which does not make any sense for me to buy because I've lived this long without it. I'm sure I don't need a $4,000 table saw. Anyway, but that's what it is. It's a table saw, and it's called a SawStop. So if you know anything at all about table saws, I'm sure you've heard of it, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But if you haven't, this is magical, and you should go watch this video, which we'll put in the show notes. So what SawStop is it is a. So, sorry, to set the stage one more time. So the table saw is the most dangerous saw in a wood shop, generally. So it's raised up, it's running, lots and lots of people lose fingers and have accidents on table saws because it's very dangerous. So what this person did is he invented a table saw that would stop the blade basically if you touch it with your skin. So essentially your skin or if you touch it, you close a circuit with the blade, and in amazing short period of time, order of milliseconds, it basically throws a chalk into the saw and halts it below the table. So, and the
it's more a self-destruct than a stop.
Yeah. So it is absolutely destructive. So, if you accidentally trigger they call it the break, but if you accidentally trigger the break in the saw, you're out $70 because that's what they cost to put in a new one. But you know what? You're not out.
A finger.
You're not out a finger. and I don't know about you. I'm kind of attached to mine.
Literally.
So yeah, actually, I pretty much make a living with my hands. So
that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, the concept of, is it worth is it worth an extra $1,000 to have something that will save your finger if you get it caught in the saw? Let me just say, if you're squeamish, don't go out to YouTube and read the testimonials for this saw. Or not YouTube, Amazon, and read the testimonial, because there's lots of people out there saying, "Oh my gosh, do I wish that I had bought a SawStop?" And that's not something you need to hear, really.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's anyway, I just thought that this was something that is on my list of fun things. It's not a Museum of Modern Art fancy art show thing, I'm afraid. But if you've never seen a SawStop in action, you should A, know that it exists in the world, and B, go watch this YouTube video and be amazed. Because I think I don't even remember if I said this, but so in like the inventor actually sticks his finger in the saw.
Yeah. To prove that
it works. So, do you believe your invention?
Yeah. I don't know if I could.
I'll tell you flat out. No, I couldn't. I wouldn't do. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, good for him. So, anyway, that's my something fun. I'm sticking to it. Only one thing.
All right. Well done.
All right, man. Let's call it a show.
All right, dude.
Talk to you later, man. Bye.
We'll see you.